My name is Raymond Arturo Perez. If you're watching this, you should be asleep. It's 12:44 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The day is Wednesday, August 19th, 2026, and you are watching another edition of Timestamp Podcast. A trial version, if you will, of a podcast that I might be launching sometime in the near future. As my fraternity brother Luis Espinosa says, go to bed. And so I say to you, Alex from Colombia, go to Mimis. First one. You're the second one, actually. As I was saying, these last 10 days, not consecutive, I've been covering different aspects of my career, federal government name, and in each one covering things like how did I get into the guild, how did I get a manager agent or entertainment attorney, and today I'm going to talk about writing programs. Are writing programs still a thing? I don't know, are they? I'm gonna run down the ones I've been a part of, and tell you the benefits of being a part of programs. So, I am an alum of programs by the Latino Filmmakers Network. There's some comments that I will not echo, but yes. The Latino Filmmakers Network, the Sony Pictures Television Diverse Writers Program, the Stars Writers Intensive, Take the Lead, Out in Hollywood list, and I'll kind of show share with what each of those is. So the Latino Filmmakers Network partnered with the New Filmmakers Los Angeles, and they brought Latino filmmakers to Sundance, primarily to network, which is cool. I've never actually heard of organizations putting up folks at a film festival, not because they have a film premiere, not because of XYZ, but just to go support them and tell them to network their butts off. And so, kudos to both of y'all. Shout out to Larry LeBeau. He's amazing. Apparently, a lot of people are up at this hour. And you know what? Cheers to us. The next one I'm going to run down is Sony Pictures Television Diverse Writers Program. I made it into their initiative the year prior. Unfortunately, our program was kind of ran through by the necessary writer's strike and whatnot. So that kind of upended things there. The Stars Take the Lead Writers Intensive, created by Naleep, Stars Take the Lead, and New Filmmakers Los Angeles. I think what's cool about that program was after you made it into the top 10, they did have the opportunity for some of the writers to get a development grant for writing a additional piece of writing that was a spec script of an existing Stars TV series. Usually all of these programs do not have any money attached to them. So it was really cool that was part of the program. And I will say that those three organizations, Naleep, Stars, and New Filmmakers Los Angeles, are all very great entities, like apart. Naleep has one of the best conferences for Latinos in the film industry. New Filmmakers LA literally does monthly film programs, often highlighting folks that are underrepresented, marginalized within the community, overlooked, or just not championed enough. I will say that. And I can't say this enough, but like Larry LeBeau does so much for the folks that he champions, and so if you're on his radar, that's usually a good sign for you. You're writing, and I can't stress that enough. And I think that's kind of where I'm going with these writing programs. But the one program before that was Out in Hollywood. Out in Hollywood is an organization made up of out agents, managers, and executives. And their hope is to champion other out writers and scripts that are unproduced. What I love about this is they're basically saying we don't want queer stories to be written by non-queer writers. These queer writers exist, surprise, which is the case for every group of folks in the industry. The talent is here. That's never been the problem. And then the extra step of saying, and here are scripts that are ready to go, that we as out folks in the industry believe in. So I like the initiative. They continue to do it. And I will say, for all of these programs, like, the folks that are getting picked are folks that should have gotten jobs like years ago. So, for what it's worth. And I will say, like, the reason I keep applying to these programs is because of the absence of a job. There are so many unemployed writers. It was bad before we went on writer's strike, which is why we went on writer's strike. The terms that we agreed to basically dismantled the ladder that is the TV writing ladder, starting with, depending on which way you start, the head writer, going down, from executive producer to different producers, like consulting producer, supervisor producer, etc., to then co-producers, to producer, to then executive story editor, staff writer being the entry level. Before speaking in generalizations, those 12 steps existed for, generally speaking, every show. After the agreement, we basically said, like, I forget if it's 4 or 6, but we basically told studios, networks, now you only need to hire 4 to 6, and we have a slap of the wrist where you can just get fined for not hiring the 12 or not hiring the 6. And so if you have the option not to, as a business person, you're gonna not to. And that's what happened. So whereas, and I'm just gonna throw out numbers, these are probably not true, but let's say 25% of the writing workforce was working. It feels like 13% is working. I don't know. But as someone who loves numbers, I'll get back to y'all on that one. So what do these programs do? I think at their best, they build community. Like, the writers that are in these programs with me are like, especially if we vibe, and especially if their writing is like, writer dies. And it's the kind of community that you need when you are out of a job in the industry, when you know what it takes to sell a show, staff on a show, the research, the time commitment to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't go to your birthday because I'm staying in to work on my writing, etc., etc., etc. In the before times, a lot of these programs were very good at launching careers, pushing people that maybe get stuck in certain areas, like assistantship, which has always been a big pothole for a lot of writers on their journeys, or going from a staff writer to above staff writer, which is a huge jump in pay in the before times. It's the difference between being a writer for a head writer and your own executive producer, head writer of your own show. All different pitfalls that exist. I will say Disney's writing program, their banner is basically like, we will make sure you get that job. So I love that, and the way that programs used to do that in the before times is they would sponsor their writers in the program so that when come time to staffing, the budget was not used for a staff writer. It was subsidized by the programs. Are the writing programs still alive? Yes, most of them are. A lot of them have died in some capacity. Some have morphed through consolidation of corporations. I think writers as a whole have been very vocal about how they feel these programs leave us in the trenches that they found us in. And I think we're being vocal enough that a lot of these programs are being a lot more intentional about the number of writers they accept into their programs. Whereas I love seeing, 10 folks be championed. It feels better seeing 4 people be championed if you're going to actually do something to support their career, as opposed to championing 10 and then leaving them all on a headline from years back. A lot of these programs require a lot from you. I will try again to get into the Disney Writers Program. I still haven't gotten in there. It is one of the most prestigious. But they do ask for a lot. Everyone's asking for your life story. They're asking for a resume. They're asking for at least 1 writing sample. Most ask for 2 writing samples. They'll ask for a synopsis sometimes. Sometimes they'll ask for a series guide or a season arc and a character breakdown and the treatment, etc., 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 etc. And mind you, these writers, unless mom and dad are paying for them, they got some cushion from the law degree that they ended up getting before becoming a writer, are working full-time jobs. And so it's a lot. But here we are. And that, in a nutshell, has been kind of my experience with writers programs. Most recently, I got into Film Independence Project Involve, which I actually always thought was for directors only, directors and other departments outside of writing, because I thought they only championed writers, directors. I was surprised to know otherwise, and so I did sign up for that. At the end of last year, I was admitted as a writer fellow for this year, so I am a Project Involved Writers Fellow. And that's been cool in that I get to see my writing produced. As someone who got into the industry through Selena and has not seen something else be produced since, I've been really adamant about not just wanting my scripts to be PDFs in a folder somewhere. Which is why, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but I shot a short film last year. It's called White Space. It's on Instagram. That's at White Space Film. I'm applying to film festivals this year, to premiere next year. And then, because I'm also a part of Project Involved by Film Independent, the short that I wrote for them called Training Wheels, which I believe on Instagram is Training Wheels Short, will also premiere in 2027. We shot that in June. Going through the editing process right now. That's been super dope. Project Involved is like the Justice League of folks. Kind of reminds me of AFI Conservatory. So, that's directed by Loren Escandon, produced by Suki Lee, produced by Nora Bernard, produced by Eduardo Suarez, edited by Mario Andrew Fierro, shot by Maddie Beavers, and I hope I'm not missing anybody. But my Project Involved Fellows group is fire, and yeah, I think one of the biggest things, kind of also roundabout way of sharing some advice from my career journey, if you have an inkling of being a director or producer, which as a writer in television, you become a writer-producer. I've been pushing all my colleagues, I've been pushing my mentors, I've been pushing my mentees to not wait. If you have an interest in directing and you care enough about a story to be a writer, you're going to be a good director. And if you're not, or even if you are, and it's not your vibe, at least now you know. But yeah, I'd say that. Writing programs are still a thing. I still think in the absence of a job, it's a great way to put yourself out there. At worst, it's hopefully a Deadline article, a Variety article, or the Hollywood Reporter article. But at best, you find community and it supports your career in some way. And yeah, that's it for tonight. Good night.